Alright, that's not what we're going to do here, though. We're going to watch TV. Talk about nothing. We're just going to take a little aside and do some afternoon sorts of activities, and then get back into it, because we are ahead of schedule. Alright, hopefully. Have any of you seen this before? Perfect. Okay, hopefully sound works. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're about to see.
Hear that? That's nothing. Which is what I, as a speaker at today's conference, have for you all. I have nothing. Nada. Zip. Zilch. Zippo. Nothing smart. Nothing inspirational. Nothing even remotely researched at all. I have absolutely nothing to say whatsoever. And yet, through my manner of speaking, I will make it seem like I do. Like what I am saying is brilliant. And maybe, just maybe, you will feel like you've learned something. Now, I'm going to get started with the opening. I'm going to make a lot of hand gestures. I'm going to do this with my right hand. I'm going to do this with my left. I'm going to adjust my glasses. And then I'm going to ask you all a question. By show of hands, how many of you all have been asked a question before? Okay, great. I'm seeing some hands. And again, I have nothing here. Now, I'm going to react to that and act like I'm telling you a personal anecdote. Something to break the tension. Something to endear myself a little bit. Something kind of embarrassing. And you guys are going to make an awe sound. It's true. It really happened. And now I'm going to bring it to a broader point. I'm going to reel you back in. I'm going to make it intellectual. I'm going to bring it to this man right here. Now, what this man did was important, I'm sure. But I, for one, have no idea who he is. I simply Google image the word scientist. And now, you see, I'd like it to seem like I'm making points, building an argument, inspiring you to change your life, when in reality, this is just me buying time. Now, if you don't believe me, let's take a look at the numbers. This is a real thing that's happening right now. The number of talks that I'm giving is 1. Interesting facts imparted thus far in said talk, but let's go to a 0. My height in inches is 70.5, note the 0.5 there. 2 times 6 equals 12, and then interestingly enough, 6 times 2 also equals 12. That's math. 352 is a 3-digit number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then almost immediately following that we get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, to add more filler here, I'm going to give you a couple more numbers to consider. 18, 237, 5,601, 2.6 million, 4, 24, staggering. These are real numbers, all of them. And to follow that up, let's take a look at some graphs. Now, if you take a look at this pie chart, what you're going to see is that the majority far exceeds the minority. Isn't it? And let's take a look at this bar graph because it shows similarly irrelevant data. Now, I'm doing this because I'd like to make it seem like I've done my homework. If you were, say, watching this on YouTube with the sound off, you might think, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. But I don't. I'm floundering, panicking, I've got nothing. I'm a total and utter phony. But you know what? I was offered a TED Talk. And damn it, that's true. Now, if you take a look behind me, these are just words paired with vaguely thought-provoking stock photos. I'm going to point at them like I'm making use both of my time as well as your time, but in reality, I don't know what half of them mean. And now, as these continue, I'm just going to start saying gibberish. Wah wah, gabba gabba, turkey, mouth in a mouth, chip, trip, my dog skip, rip it and dip it, Richard. I'm an itty-bitty baby bopper, and I'm hungry in my tum-tum. Brad Pitt, Uma Thurman. Names, things, words, and more things. And see, it feels like it might make sense, doesn't it? maybe I'm building to some sort of satisfying conclusion. I mean, I'm gesticulating as though I am. I'm pacing, I'm growing in intensity, I'm taking off my glasses, which, by the way, are just frames. I wore them to look smart, even though my vision is perfect. And now I'm going to slow things down a little bit. I'm going to change the tone. I'm going to make it seem like I'm building to a moment. And what if I was? Amazing, isn't it? What can you do? Life's a roller coaster. You know, if there's one thing you take away from my talk, I'd like you to think about what you heard at the beginning. And I'd like you to think about what you hear now. Because it was nothing, and it's still nothing. Think about that. Or don't, that's fine. And now I'm going to stop talking. Thank you.
Follow that up with a bunch of tips and tricks.
Powering off.
Random question? Oh, never mind, too late. Okay, so just do a little, yes?
What happened to part one?
Part one of what?
You said part two.
I'm going to part two, nonverbals. Part one is verbals, and part three is avoid debater speak. But we're going to do part two, because I like it. Blah, 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 blah. So this is mostly from a journal that was a survey of surveys, as it were. So this guy went and looked at all of the studies on courtroom procedure and communication to see what are the great tips and habits of great speakers, okay? That means it's for lawyers. You already know what I think about lawyers, which is you're not a lawyer, so not everything in this applies to you. Let's take a look at these and critique the picture for a second. What are just some things you notice about the differences in nonverbal activity going on? Yeah.
Bill Clinton is hiding his hands.
Yeah. We do not. We like to see hands. It's a humanizing thing. Good. What else? We've got smiles. You know how many debaters smile that are good? Almost none. Smile. You know why? Because your audience is always looking to identify with you, to see if they can see themselves in you. And they think that they are probably nice. If you're nice, they think we should hang out. It's good. What else?
One of those wearing glasses.
Who's wearing glasses?
Wearing gloves.
No, he just has bags under his eyes. Oh, poor old Bush. Yeah.
They're all wearing black suits and hats.
Yes, dark suits, good for guys.
Well, the open hands instead of, so the one that Obama has stands crossed and across the front, whereas Bush and I don't know who the guy on
Jim
the
Carter.
right, and Carter, they both have open stances. Their hands, they aren't putting on a display. It doesn't
Right.
look like.
It looks natural,
It looks
right?
natural.
He doesn't know what to do with his hands, so he did something that probably is the kind of thing you would do with your hands, but we wouldn't even have to think about it. Good.
Jimmy Carter standing away from everybody else.
Does he look comfortable, uncomfortable? Do we like him more or less?
It looks like he looks versatile.
He looks uncomfortable. I have seen so many cross-examinations where one of the speakers is highly uncomfortable. Girls, here's what you do, by the way, when you're uncomfortable. You put one foot behind the other like this. Every time. Sometimes you put it in your hair, but usually it's this. I'm crossing my legs while standing.
They all imposters.
Yes, especially, I think, Bill Clinton's shoulder, if you ignore his hands, pretty decent, but look how close his feet are together. Which brings us to good old GW, who's like, that's what guys do in cross-examination. They go like this, they put a foot to the side, like on its side. So girls go like that, and dudes do that. Super fun. So when you're confident, you fill space. And when you lack confidence, you shrink. Dun da dun, dun da dun. Oh, by the way, so we made this maybe 6 or 7 years ago, 5 years ago. If there's anyone you don't recognize, it's Donald Trump. Okay? Yeah, we learned this, that most of you don't know who the person on the right is. It's Donald Trump. Yeah.
Is it Al Gore? Or is that...
Good, it's Al Gore. Used to every slide drew gales of laughter, but now it doesn't. I need to go change these, but I'm too lazy, so I'm just using Donald Trump. So who's more trustworthy in these two pictures, and why?
Yeah.
Why?
Open hand, closed hand. Open hand is open, closed hand is
He's lecturing.
adversarial.
It's adversarial. Whenever you point, it's always adversarial. It's a point of, I have a greater position than you. And we don't want, that's uncomfortable. Yeah.
It looks like Al Gore's eyebrows are very winky, not many.
His face is a little contorted, I give you that. Good. Now, there's one random factoid here that I just find is curious, okay? Head tilts 8 degrees to the right are shown to be slightly more credible than being straight or a foot. Like, that's not good either. I kid you not, these people practice this. It's funny. All right. Eye contact. So that's Al Gore and Donald Trump and Donald Trump. Yeah. Do you know the guy on the right, anybody? Tony Blair. Yeah. So eye contact is, again, underestimated by advanced debaters. It's so funny because most of the time I spend working with presentation on advanced debaters, we go back to speaking 101. You need to look people in the eyes. So here's some bad advice people give you. Look above people's eyes. Look above their heads just a little bit. I'm not connecting with anybody. It just doesn't work. Another one is to imagine your audience as something weird. It's no good either. You have to actually look people in the eyes because that means that you believe you. And when we are an audience, we are constantly processing, do you believe you in a debate? And many times your eyes give it away. And you have lying eyes. We have no confidence. You have to look people in the eye. Now, how long should you look somebody in the eye? Because it can get really awkward really fast. You pick one person and stay on it because she wants to break eye contact. Now, she can't. She feels like she can't. Sometimes when you have one judge, this happens. And it's super, super awkward. And she wants to break it, I want to break it, nobody knows how to break it. As a debater, there are a couple of things. First, and this happens in interpersonal communication too. If you're one-on-one, a lot of times eye contact gets to the point of weirdness. So what they say is make a V if you want to keep looking at someone. So you look at one eye, look down to the lips, read lips for a second, and look up to the other eye. And so that feels a little less awkward. So at least my eyes are moving, and it's not like we're staring. But if there's a greater audience, then I can look at other people, and it's about 1.2 seconds that you want to look at somebody in the eye. Not so fast that you're constantly moving. You have to plan on someone, but not so long that it gets to a point of awkwardness. And then last, before I take your point, is while you're speaking, you have a good chance to look over at something else. You can look at the timekeeper, if there is one. You can look at the other debaters. You can look at something you have written down, but allow your judge the freedom to get away from your eye contact for a second.
Yeah, a lot of times you look at your notes you wrote down, or if you're in a speech, as if you're preparing anything down your card.
Yeah, but and then the biggest thing for me is that you just, as advanced debaters, you need to do it. You need to invest the time, and it'll actually help you go slower too. Eye contact, because if you're looking at them, you're looking to register do they think what I'm saying, or are they like overwhelmed by what I'm saying? You can judge reactions, and great speakers always adapt. In fact, my favorite cross-examination technique as an answer is to mirror my audience's eyes. So if a question is asked and I'm giving the space for that question to be processed, instead of just being like, yep, nope, yep, nope, yep, nope, like a lot of debaters who have negotiation that excludes the audience. If I'm actually including the audience, and the audience goes like that to a question, I say, I don't know. That doesn't sound right. I can mirror my audience. If my audience is like, I should not go, no, you have to have evidence to prove that. I've just defeated my own credibility. We have to own our platform, our stage. So, as Steve Jobs, famous speaker, he would always take as much of the stage as is reasonable, but take a stage like this, usually you want to say, here's an invitation. That kind of actually marks the boundary of my stage. If it comes back like that, so the rest I don't even consider. And usually you want to leave the last 15% of any room. You don't go past that. So about here is pretty much the furthest on this stage that I would go this direction if I were debating, and I would do it about the same over here. Because we want that part of the room to still be able to be part of it, but we do want to go reach the people in each part of the room. That's why you go on the stage. However, terrible advice, Toastmasters advice kind of thing, first speech advice is over here is point one. And my second point. And my third point. And my conclusion. Any nonverbals that appear rehearsed, blocky, planned, are ineffective. They're counterproductive. Far better to just stand still in one spot on a red dot like a TED Talk than to do that kind of blockiness. And then the other, roaming is for stand-up comedians, but not for debaters. As a debater, though, there's so much credibility you gain by moving away from the lectern. So you're at the lectern, and if you have a chance to come just past it, here you're still hiding behind it. And it's like, I think they think they're supposed to do that as an audience, but they're not really doing it. They're close enough to the nose that it's safe. But when you turn, you come all the way out here and speak, you really know what you're talking about. Else you couldn't do that. And then you go back. I like to turn my lectern sideways and let them hold stuff for me and speak and not be in the way. Any barrier between myself and my audience, I just like that. And then I come back to grab something or to read it really quickly. But if I do this, that's also just as ineffective, so that doesn't really help me. So turning the lectern to the side is a good tactic, but you have to do it right. All right, owning platforms, essential. Some ways to do it. We've got more on gesturing widely. You guys probably have no idea who that is.
On the right?
Yeah.
Palmer.
You guys know who Steve Ballmer is?
Paddling on. Ready to pair. Paired.
CEO of Microsoft, Bill Gates. He's not anymore, but he was for a long time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Ballmer!
Young Turks, guys. I can't take it. I can't take it. I will workshop on Young Turks. That's a different subject. Okay, so we want to gesture widely, but not too widely. The space is about a box here. This is too big, too much. Elbows at side, too much. So we halfway raise our elbows, and from there, that is the correct placement where our fingertips could touch is another way to look at it. This is roughly your space, your zone of gesture. We don't want to do the lady because and stupid jokes. I disagree with this point, but the point is good for courtrooms. Remember that courtrooms don't just speak to juries. This one primarily comes from appellate court review where you speak to 9 justices or 3 justices or something like that, and so you're like, who is better is a thought going through people's minds, and this is a confidence gesture. If you play poker, this is a confidence tell. Put a bunch of money on the table, go like that, you probably have a strong hand. I read all this whole book by this FBI guy who's a counterintelligence guy, and he's going back and forth between criminals and poker table because he liked poker. And another one that people do is this is a pacifying gesture on the nose. When someone is not confident in what they say, to do that, like this. Watch next time, like any TV commentator. You'll see this will happen at certain moments. Or, well, yeah, that happens a lot. At the table, though, it's funny because they say that the further down you go in your body, the more honest you are. The most honest part of your body is your feet. So people at a table who are bouncing their feet, they're feeling really good usually. If it's non-verbal, that is a confidence gesture. Pacifying behavior to rub the leg like that. Girls have one right here. Pacifying behavior to touch right there. It's protective and pacifying. Earlobes can be pacifying. I'm trying to think what else. But it's funny because you have this combination of projecting nonverbals, but nonverbals also influence you. And so there's a lot of really interesting research out there about people who gain or lose their confidence based on how they're sitting or standing and what that does to their cortisol levels. So people who are before an interview sitting out front in the lobby like this, they are raising their cortisol levels dramatically by doing this, and they're going to be far less confident in the interview. You want to, before your debate rounds, not be squoze, but you want to actually, a lot of people will even spend 2 minutes in a confidence pose, like this. I'm not kidding you.
We just learned that.
Are you just like that? Okay, cool, I'm going to move on. Okay, credible, blah, blah, blah. So don't do that, that's lame. Palms down versus palms up. Palms down is authoritative, you know what you're talking about. Don't lecture, but know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about. Sounds weird right now because I'm doing this, but here it sounds perfectly fine. Because monkeys. Okay? Old joke. This is why I wanted to do this presentation. Do you all recognize one of these people?
Uh-huh.
This is Matt DeMay beating Oxford in moot court at Oxford with the Supreme Court of England equivalent as his judge. That is scary stuff right there. How many speeches do you think they have left?
No.
0. You know what I see a lot of debaters do because they're just there to win and lose debate rounds? As soon as they're done, even though more speeches are going on, pack up, I'm ready to go. Look how engaged they are, like they actually care about the content of the round. So much that debaters do from their nonverbals show they don't give a hoot about private property rights, needs of the public, or our agriculture policy. They care about winning and losing debate rounds. Stay engaged. I don't care if you're drawing like creepy bears. Or write nice notes to your partner. Whatever. Stay engaged because you're asking for the judge's time to sit there and listen on a policy topic. Don't cheapen it. This is just, it's funny. So debating with Patsy Button was hilarious because she's, I don't know, probably 65. And as a debate coach, she never debated. And we debated, and she was my partner in a round, and her student said, in the last speech, my opponent never addressed this argument, and she, sitting at a table, blurts out, "Yes, I did!" Because most of your parents, you just don't realize what it's like until you've sat at the table. And you're sitting there, and you're like, that is so wrong. Debaters, this is an emotion you feel, right? You have to learn to control and manage that, right? Because the judges are looking at you. They're always looking. They don't even know they're looking. They want to see if when that person who's speaking says something, what you think. Do you still think you're winning, or are you losing? And if you're like, you actually lose credibility because it looks like you're projecting and trying. And so super counterintuitive game. Looking disinterested, right? Interesting. Being used is the maximum emotion that you have. My opponents lied, they misconstrued evidence, and they said that China wasn't even a country. And you're at the table. That's what they said I said. Is what the judge must think you think. That's what they said I said. And that's the most. I've been in a debate around where we were facing all the judge was basically, when you do every other league of debate, some of the prim rules of debate go away. So you have like a table about that long, judge is sitting at the middle, looking at the lectern, and then one team on one side looking at the lectern, and one team on the other side looking at it. So you're all like in the same row, if that makes sense. And the speaker is up here, pointing at my partner, saying she is a liar, like this, for 5 minutes. Like that was their whole rebuttal strategy. And we were like, really glad the judge wasn't able to look at us. Okay. So this is Patrick Shipsey winning nationals in finals, and he is listening to his partner deliver the 1AC, and he looks like he couldn't imagine anything better or more interesting to him at that moment, even though he's got it memorized word for word. We have to participate in the round in the same way we expect our audience to. We're going to do cross-examination deep dive tomorrow. It'll be fun. Forget it. Okay. Dudes, we have to have the darker suits most of the time. Girls, you need to have understated accessories most of the time. I have one asterisk to all this, which is there are what I call dark and light personalities. I have a dark personality. I own that. Me in high school, black shirt, black tie, black suit, black trench coat, black fedora. Not kidding. I wish I had spoken to myself earlier. I have a wardrobe now that is mostly light clothes that I hate. Because I realize in the business world that I'm scary to people. I am scary and intense to people. And so the lighter clothing tends to soften my character. And it makes someone who seems dark appear a little more balanced. And the opposite is true. Someone who's kind of really light, like this gentleman here, yep, has a light personality, is more likely to choose a light gray suit or a brown suit or something like that, and should definitely balance the personality with something dark. So an extremely mousy girl should probably avoid the understated accessories rule. You're more likely to not have any. And maybe you should have some big old pearls or something. I'm serious. Whereas the person who wants to wear a flower on their head, you need to do the opposite. So it's not like a principle rule, but it really makes a difference. If light personalities don't seem like floozy, brainless people talking about policy, which you aren't, but we're so conditioned in our society to expect it. that if someone wears a flower on their head, they can't talk about public property rights or whatever. You just need to recognize that, because are you there to represent yourself or an idea? And I think I love that all of you are finding your own style at this age, but I think the idea you're representing is more important than you, and how you dress reflects your decision. Is your case important, or are you human? And if your case matters, you'll dress in such a way to get yourself out of the way. Just don't be noticed. You don't want anyone walking away saying, oh, I can't believe, or I was awesome, she was wearing, he was wearing. That's just not, you want them to walk away and say, that case was so compelling. I'm convinced. So for girls, Sarah, who are you going to listen to talk about agriculture policy? Same for dudes, short hair. We don't have many if you're struggling with that. I'm struggling with anybody else. This is, by the way, this is one of my favorite prosecutors. He did the Michael Jackson trial against the doctor. It's on YouTube. He is unbelievable. All that's back to So then the ultimate case study in non-verbals was the 1960 presidential debate, because this was the first time that a debate, a presidential debate, so-called debate, was both on TV and radio. So it was a researcher's dream. We can look at the radio audience and look at the TV audience and see how perceptions differ. So you have Kennedy and Nixon, and Kennedy wore a dark suit, contrasting his features, ready for this. Nixon did not prep well, wore something that washed him out, and refused to wear makeup, because he's a man. And the TV people thought Kennedy won, and the radio listeners thought Nixon won by large margins. And that debate influenced their vote. So did nonverbal.